Thinking about moving to Duluth, Georgia? Let's go over some important info you need before making the move. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Victor with Living in Atlanta, Georgia, and we put out videos every week about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the surrounding suburbs. We talk about the homes in Atlanta, we talk about the communities and the schools. Of course, if you're thinking about moving to Duluth or any of the suburbs around Metro Atlanta, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. Thank you so much to everyone who has reached out. I'm always happy to help. But one of the things that you'll want to know about the city of Duluth is that Duluth is located in Gwinnett County, which is kind of in the northeast part of Metro Atlanta. And one of the biggest draws for many people who live in Duluth is the downtown area. Downtown Duluth can be found at Main Street and Lawrenceville Street, and there are a bunch of shops and restaurants around there. There's also a big green lawn area where you'll regularly find people hanging out or having a picnic, spending time. This is one of the most popular parts of the city of Duluth. Not only do a lot of people move there for this downtown area, but this is also a great area to go to visit if you're wanting to get a good idea of what the city is like or what the people are like. Visiting that town center is one of the best ways to get that feel for the city of Duluth. Another thing that you should know about Duluth is that because it's located so far from the city of Atlanta and the main road that goes through there is Interstate 85, there's going to be a lot of rush hour traffic from Duluth to the city of Atlanta during rush hour. Because most people live in one of the suburbs of Metro Atlanta and many people work in the city of Atlanta, that's where you're going to find a lot of that rush hour traffic on the interstates and on the main roads from the suburbs to the city. And Duluth is no different. Interstate 85 going south to the city of Atlanta is going to be regularly congested with traffic during rush hour. There are a few alternate routes you can take to try to get around that interstate traffic. Peachtree Industrial Boulevard and Buford Highway also run parallel to Interstate 85 and go to the city of Atlanta, or will get you pretty close to the city of Atlanta. So if you're seeing that there's a lot of traffic on the interstate, one of those two alternates could be a good option. But of course, you're just going to plug it in the GPS. This is really the best way to figure out how to get around that traffic. Put it in the GPS on your phone. Ideally, that will help out the most in trying to avoid the dreaded Atlanta traffic. Something else that you should know about Duluth if you're planning on living there is that the school year for the public schools starts very early in Duluth and in Gwinnett County. This year, it's going to start August 2nd, which I know is much earlier than many of the other schools around the country. Here in Georgia, we tend to start a little bit earlier with schools, so the summertime is a little less for the kids. I'm sure that's super disappointing. As a parent of kids who are going to school, I personally love that the schools start a little bit earlier here, but that really catches a lot of people off guard, especially people who are moving here to Metro Atlanta from other states. When they see that these schools start so much earlier, it kind of surprises them. So August 2nd is when the public school starts in Duluth. And then while we're talking about the public school system, you should also know that in general, Gwinnett County is known for having some of the best schools in Metro Atlanta, and Duluth is in Gwinnett County, but not all of the high schools in Duluth are quite as good as some of the other Gwinnett County high schools. The elementary schools and the middle schools are rated very well in the city of Duluth, but the high schools in Duluth are not rated as well. According to greatschools.org, you're looking at about a 7 out of 10 for the high schools in the city of Duluth. Something else that could be super helpful if you're moving to the city of Duluth is that many people want to know what is the racial diversity like in that city. And Duluth is certainly a city that has lots of racial diversity. According to one website, Duluth is 42% white, 26% Asian, 23% African American, and 9% other races or 2 or more races. So certainly you're going to find plenty of racial diversity in the city of Duluth. As a Latin American myself, I have no fear going to Duluth or really any of the suburbs around Metro Atlanta. I typically find that there's plenty of racial diversity in many of the suburbs around the city of Atlanta. Okay, keep this date in mind if you're moving to Duluth. April 1st is going to be the deadline for filing for the homestead exemption. The homestead exemption will give you a bit of a discount on your property taxes, and if you wait until after April 1st, you'll have to wait the entire year in order to get that discount on your property taxes. You can file for the homestead exemption online or in person. And then also, because the city of Duluth is in Gwinnett County, your property taxes will be a little bit lower than cities like Atlanta that are in Fulton County. Generally speaking, Gwinnett County property taxes are a little less than Fulton County. When you add on that homestead exemption, ideally, you should have a pretty big discount compared to cities like Atlanta or Roswell or Sandy Springs. Duluth property taxes are a bit lower than those other cities. Okay, this next point is super important, and I find that very often people who come to Metro Atlanta from other states are surprised to see how many of the homes here in Metro Atlanta are kind of older, like 70s and 80s homes. I don't think that this is as common in other states, but it is very common here in Georgia, and it's very common in the city of Duluth. Right around the 500,000 or 600,000 price point, anything at that price point or lower, you're going to find that most of the homes in Duluth are 70s and 80s, maybe early 90s homes. Now, this is not necessarily bad. Many of those homes have lots of character and lots of charm that you can't quite find in newer homes. But what that also means is that there are going to be typical old home problems with those homes. You know, you may find more deferred maintenance in those homes. You may find roofs that are 20 or 30 years old, or HVAC systems that are much older than the life expectancy. So certainly something to keep in mind. You know, if your budget is 500,000 in the city of Duluth, you're not really going to get new construction. You're not going to get a home built in the 2000s. It's far more common to find a home in that price point that's been built in the 80s or 90s. And then lastly, when it comes to living in Duluth, one of the reasons why so many people live there is because it's so much closer to the city of Atlanta than some of the other Gwinnett County cities. Cities like Beaufort or Suwanee, these cities are farther away from the city of Atlanta. So not only does that mean a longer commute to the city of Atlanta, but that also means that you're going to be dealing with more rush hour traffic. So because Duluth is much closer to Atlanta, less traffic, less time commuting, and this is a big advantage if you're going to be living in Duluth and working in the city of Atlanta. No question that Duluth is one of the most popular suburbs in all of Metro Atlanta. If you want to know more about what it's like to live in Duluth, check out this video. I'll see you there.